Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the I Am Avanti podcast. You're here with your host, Endy. Unfortunately, I am solo today, but not really because I'm here with Katie. Say hi, Katie.
Hi, Endy. Hi, all Endys and listeners.
Yeah. So I reached out to a couple of piercers in this group that I'm in called Piercer Babes. It's really awesome. It's a really great resource for just the industry in general. And I just asked if there were some piercers that wanted to come and talk to me about their experiences and how they're feeling and how they're doing right now. If you're not aware, we are doing this episode in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic. So we are recording remotely. I'm in my home in Portland, and she's in her home. And you're in Ohio. Are you in Ohio right now?
Yeah, Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah, and so we are social distancing, so don't worry about that. But we are able to utilize technology in a really awesome way that we can still connect and talk to each other. So I have a couple questions that I wanted to ask. Well, I guess we already talked about the first one already, which is where you're from. So, yeah, where are you from, if you want to talk about that a little bit?
I'm born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, for my entire life. So I've never really left home. I just kind of moved around the area a bit. And I currently actually work in the city that I was born in. So I was born in North Olmsted, a suburb of Cleveland, and now I work in North Olmsted again.
Awesome.
But I live in Cleveland, the actual city.
Cool. Yeah, that was the second question, was where you work. So born and raised, working in the same place you live. Very, very cool. How long have you been piercing for?
So I've been piercing for 3 years now, and that includes a 1-year apprenticeship.
Cool. Awesome. What's the name of your shop?
The current shop I work for is called Piercing Perfections. We're located inside the Great Northern Mall in North Olmsted.
Oh, cool. Avanti's in a mall, too. How's that been, working in a mall?
That's awesome.
Yeah. How do you feel about having a shop that's in the mall? Because our shop's also in a mall, and I feel like it has it brings for very unique opportunities, for sure, instead of having, like, a standalone store. So what's that experience been like for you, like, being in a mall and being in a piercer shop?
Yeah, that's actually a really great question, because this is the first time I'm working in that type of environment.
Mm-hmm.
So with a mall, it's, as you know, it's very busy. There's lots of people, like looky-loos that
Mm-hmm.
are just like, oh, you're here? What are you? Like, you do actual body piercings inside the mall? Like, because their only experience usually with piercings in malls is probably, their local place that uses a piercing gun, like Claire's or Piercing Pagoda or Icing, someplace like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they've never even, maybe even seen a real piercing studio before they walk into my studio or before they walk into your studio. So it's a very unique type of atmosphere in that way.
Yeah, I totally agree with getting, like, the looky-loos. A lot of the time I'll see people, like, just in the window, just looking, and they're just, like, it becomes almost like a little bit of a spectacle, and then they come in and, like, you guys do piercings here for real? And it's like, yeah, you can, buy a t-shirt and then come in and get your ears pierced.
Yeah, it's also very different because you have a lot of people that know virtually nothing about body jewelry. And there's plenty of places inside the mall that sell body jewelry, and they're like, they come into my studio and they're like, oh my God, this is expensive. And it's like, well, yes, I'm sure it's expensive compared to what you're used to, but let me explain why. This is all implant grade titanium. It's, 14, 18 karat gold. It's no fillium. It's all super safe to be inside your body. It's made to be inside your body. It's not going to wear away over time, and in 5 years from now, it's not going to be, in irreparable quality where you can't wear it or use it anymore.
Exactly. Like, I feel good being able to educate people on that, because, yeah, like you said, a lot of people don't really know anything about jewelry quality, or they see the price and they get a little bit intimidated. But yeah, it's like you're investing in yourself. You're investing in this piece of metal that won't turn or, like, won't give you any allergic reactions unless you're actually allergic to titanium, and that kind of builds the value of it, and it kind of, like, lets people know a little bit better, because, I've done it before. I've gotten my ears pierced in places where they use lower, quite type quality, and I definitely noticed a difference between now and before with like the process of my healing and how much easier it's been, and like how much more like secure I feel in my piercings. So it's great to be able to educate people on that and have those experiences, because it's not like, you know, your typical shop where you just walk in and you're like, I want some silver earrings that, you know, if I wear them every day will kind of rust.
That's like my favorite question. Do you guys sell silver earrings? It's like, no, I don't. I have things that look like they're silver, but let me explain why you actually shouldn't be wearing things like sterling silver inside your body. It's fine for a ring or for a necklace for most people, but actually when you wear sterling silver earrings, for instance, you can have discoloration of the skin. And that's because you shouldn't be wearing things like sterling silver inside your body. It's not a safe material for body jewelry to be made of.
Right, exactly. So, as far as the coronavirus goes, how has this pandemic affected you and your work? What was the process like? Is your shop still open? Like, if it's not, when did you guys close, and what was that like for you?
Yeah, so we have been now shut down in Ohio for 11 days. We were mandated to shut down by our governor, Mike DeWine. And it's definitely been hard being home. Obviously, I am not making any money at home because unlike some other people in our industry, I am not a super duper crafty person, so I'm not, you know, selling artwork or anything online right now. So it's just me at home thinking and wishing that I could be in my studio piercing. But before we were shut down, we were very slow for like the last 2 weeks before shutdown. So even, you know, before we actually got shut down, I took a really big hit to my income, which something a lot of people aren't talking about right now is this is our busy season for piercers and tattoo artists. This is when we make our money for the year, and now that's just gone for us right now. I am very fortunate that I am currently working for a studio that chooses to pay me hourly instead of commission, which for the first time I'm very thankful for, because if it wasn't for that, those 2 weeks I would have made absolutely no money.
Yeah, it sucks, and it's heartbreaking because, you know, I was seeing one of the posts in the group that we're in, and someone was kind of disheartened by the fact that what they do wasn't considered like an essential business, which I think that it is in a way, because it changes people's lives to get their bodies modified. It helps people see who they are in their true form, and it helps people kind of to connect the inside to their outside. So the fact that it's not considered essential was kind of like, what does that mean? Like, that's kind of a bummer, because people rely on that. And of course the piercers and tattoo artists, of course, is essential, because that's where you make your bread and butter. I was just behind the counter, so I just considered it like another retail job, just with a twist. But if I were to actually have been a piercer or a tattoo artist, I would be very, very scared right now. So it's a pretty unfortunate thing that's happening right now. It's a pretty uncertain time. But when the shop was open, what was a typical day like for you in your studio?
A typical day for me when I am at my studio is I come in, you know, I open the studio up. You know, we do nightly cleaning, but I usually wipe everything down again in the morning just to make sure there's no dust or anything, not a fingerprint lingering around somewhere it shouldn't be. I turn on all my display cabinet lights. I get the cabinets that I leave open during the day opened up. And then I go back and I start prepping my tools for the day. I see if they've been ran. If not, you know, I run my cycles on my tools. I clean up my station. I organize my station. I stock my station. I just basically make sure that everything is prepped and ready that I might need for the day. Then I go, you know, do regular, more retail stuff. I count the drawer down. I count the change box down. You know, any deposits that might need to be made for the day. You know, that general stuff. But that's the start of my day. And then most of the day, then I'm just assisting clients, whether it be with jewelry changes, doing piercings, consultations for piercings, troubleshooting problems that they might be having, generally selling jewelry, helping people decide what's going to be right for them and what's going to, ultimately get them to their goal.
Awesome. Sweet. So, speaking of piercings, what are some of your favorite and least favorite piercings to perform on your clients?
I think that's a constantly changing thing for most piercers, including myself, because, you'll be going really strong with the piercing for a while, and then one day you do one crooked and it just kind of mentally fucks you up for a little bit. But right now, I would say the ones that I'm having a lot of fun with, they're coming out very well, and I just like doing them more than I previously had, are septum piercings. I was super, super fortunate to be able to do a seminar with Nicholas the Geezer, and he did a septum and forward helix seminar, and that changed my septum game.
Nice.
Always done good septums. I think now I'm doing arguably great septums for the ones that I've done recently, so I'm super happy about that. Nipples are another one that I previously did not like at all, and I found a new technique for doing them, and now I feel like they're coming out like butter, and I'm just really happy about that. As far as a piercing that I'm not super hot on right now, date piercings, which is funny because it's a piercing I previously really liked to do, but I had a couple come out less than what I would have wanted them to, and I'm just having a little bit of issue wrapping my brain around them, which I was discussing with the other piercer at my studio right before we closed down. So when I get back into work, that's something, I look forward to working with him on so I can get back to where I was.
Nice. Yeah, dates look cool, but they seem kind of gnarly to do. So, I mean, like I said, I'm not a piercer
they're trickier ones.
Yeah, I'm not a piercer at all, so I have zero experience about how to do it, like, in real life and everything else, but just the idea and the placement and the fact that everyone's ear is different and the fact that people expect some, like, miracle magic thing to happen after they get it done. I feel like it's a lot of pressure altogether.
It is. It really is, and it's also, like you said, a lot of people are looking for this miracle cure right now with date piercings, and that's not what they are. The thinking behind it is that it's hitting an acupuncture point, but I personally receive acupuncture. My acupuncturist has laughed when we talk about it, and he's like, well, the point you're hitting when you're piercing is actually not the point for those types of migraines. Depending on what type of migraines these people suffer from, it's not the right spot at all. Not even just off the spot. It's not even near the spot that they would use. I think if people do suffer from migraines, they should look into things like acupuncture and other holistic medicine, if they've tried and failed with Western medicine when it comes to relief. But I'm not selling cure-alls. I'm selling dope body piercings that are going to heal well.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing about it. I'm like, yeah, it may work. Like, whenever people come into the shop and ask about it, I'm like, there's no real proof. It might work for you, it might not, but either way, you get a super cute piercing, and that's the win-all. Like, the win-all out of the whole same thing.
I think that's a great thing for you as a counter person to say, because some piercers believe in just dashing people's hopes that it will work for them. I don't necessarily believe in that, because I think if it does work, it's probably more of a placebo type effect.
Right.
In which case, if you believe in it, it's going to work.
Right.
So I don't want to tell you, no, it's not going to work, but I'm not going to tell you it's going to work either.
Yeah.
I have had clients tell me that it worked for them. I've also had clients tell me it didn't work for them. But they all had awesome date piercings that they really enjoy how they look, and how it makes them feel, just, to be able to express themselves and have that more unique piece of jewelry in them.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what made you want to become a piercer in general?
That's a really awesome question. So I've actually been obsessed with body modification and body adornment since I was a very small kid. I I grew up in an age where, I think we're around the same age, but tattoo shows were really popular when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to obsessively watch them. I've also always kind of self-identified with like a punk aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously a lot of people with a punk aesthetic wear a lot of body jewelry. So I always, from the time I was a little kid, I wanted to be covered in tattoos, and I wanted like pierced all the way up my ears, which is funny because now my ears really aren't that pierced.
Mm-hmm.
Just because now as a body piercer, I'm super duper picky. So I don't currently have that many piercings, but I've always been obsessed with tattoos and piercings. I currently have about like 13 tattoos.
Nice.
Hoping to get my sleeve done once all this craziness is done.
Cool. Yeah, I totally remember those tattoo shows like Ink Master and what was the other one? Did you ever watch the one where it's like tattoo fails and they would like redo them for them, and they did it like almost in the storytelling way that they used to do 1,000 Ways to Die? I think all this stuff was on Spike TV. So it's like, if you watch Spike TV,
was the shit.
Yeah, I remember like Spike and Spike, and then there was like a music one that is completely that I can't think of right now, but I used to switch between those two where I'd watch either like really cool like rock videos or like really cool tattoo shows. I totally feel you on that. I used to be into that type of stuff too. That's super cool. So what are some things that people might not know about piercings that you've learned while you've been in the industry?
That's a really good question, because I think as far as piercing knowledge goes, in 2020, your average client does know a lot more than 10, 15 years ago coming in to see you. But there's still so many misconceptions about piercings.
Right.
A big misconception I even had until, even the last 6 months was that you need all these extra products to heal a piercing.
Right.
Honestly, leave your piercings the fuck alone. Don't put anything on them except for some sterile saline. Just set it, forget it, keep it dry, fresh water when you shower. Less is more though. Unless you work in a really like dirty type of environment, like you should really be kind of just leaving that bad boy alone as much as possible. And I see a lot of piercers, especially less educated or lower quality piercers, prescribing their clients use, first of all, like an antibacterial soap, which is, if you're going to use a soap, do not use an antibacterial soap. Please, 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 please.
Wouldn't that dry it out?
Piercing.
And doesn't like antibacterial soaps like tend to dry out your piercings a little bit?
Yes, 100%. So antibacterial soaps in and of themselves, they dry out the piercing. They eliminate all your good bacteria as well as your bad bacteria, which you need the good bacteria to heal. Your body is composed of good and bad bacteria, and when your body has too much bad bacteria, that's when things like infection or yeast infections or just, your pH being thrown off, that's when stuff like that can happen. So really, by using an antibacterial soap, you're actually doing more harm to your piercing than good. And a lot of antibacterial soaps, such as like Dial Gold, which was the industry standard, let's say, at one point, like way back in the day, is one of the worst ones. It has a chemical in it that actually destroys healing skin cells. So basically, if you're using Dial Gold to, wash your piercings, you're working against your body to heal the piercing.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely something that I feel like a lot of people tend to overlook, because I feel like whenever people get piercings, they, like you were saying earlier, they feel like they have to do the most to get them to heal. Also, I feel like people don't realize how much of a commitment it is to have a healing piercing, and how much, not really like
100%.
how much, not necessarily how much work it takes, but how much time it takes for piercings to heal. Like, I'll have people come in and they're like, I was pierced yesterday and it hurts. And I'm just like, it's gonna hurt for a few days.
That's always a funny one. It's like, I like to tell people, this is an open wound. plain and simple. It's just an open wound with a pretty sparkly piece of jewelry in it.
Mm-hmm.
And just like an open wound or a bruise, if you touch it, it's gonna hurt. It's supposed to hurt. That's your body telling you to quit fucking touching it.
Right.
To be coarse about it. But yeah, that's what it's supposed to feel like. And a lot of body piercings take anywhere from 6 months to a year to be a fully matured heal.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, aren't ready for that. Because even though it's not a lot of work, like I said, set it, forget it, little saline, little fresh water, keep it dry, good to go. But, it's there. You have to be mindful of it. If you have your ears pierced, anytime you go near your ear, anytime you go near your face, you have to be mindful, like, don't smack it, don't touch it. Because one of the biggest ways that you can easily mess up a healing piercing are by touching it with dirty hands, touching it with dirty anything, pillowcases, jackets, hoods, or trauma, by just bumping into it casually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you hear that, listeners, and if you're not a piercer already, don't touch your new piercings. Leave them alone.
Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't fucking touch it. That's something I legitimately say to my clients, especially if I see them, like, wanting to. Like, I can just kind of tell, like, they want to touch it. I'm just like, it's okay. Just picture me yelling at you every time you try to.
Mm-hmm. So, as far as piercers or other artists in the industry, who do you look up to and why?
Oh, that's a really great question. I look up to just about everyone else in the industry that's, doing good things and having a positive impact. I would say some really influential people for me right now would be Luis Garcia, Ryan Ouellette, Jeff Saunders. I just took a course from Jeff Saunders the other day. He was nice enough to offer piercers nostril fundamentals class online for free.
Oh, cool.
So that was really amazing. Thank you again, Jeff, if you ever hear this. The whole APP has been really awesome about this whole shutdown and trying to keep piercers sane and happy and give us something to do and look forward to. Ryan Ouellette just did doing 2 classes today, actually. Going to try to make his 6 o'clock class if possible. But a lot of piercers and instructors right now are doing, a lot of stuff for our community and making sure that, we have something to hold on to right now. And I think they're all just doing really amazing things, and they're just kicking ass and providing really great services to our industry now, and also, they've already been providing us with these really amazing services.
That's incredible. I love that there's a really strong sense of community and camaraderie amongst piercers, because right now I feel like it's a time for everyone just to band together and just do your best and try to make it. And speaking of the way that things are going now, where do you see the industry going after all this is over? Do you think that there'll be like a significant amount of growth once shops open up? Do you think that it'll take a while? Like, where can you predict it going?
I think it's really hard to say where the industry is going to go after this, because partially I think a lot of people are going to be cooped up and like want that new body piercing, that new body modification, so that they feel like they're back in their own skin again. I also think that there's so many people that are going to be so drastically financially affected by this that our industry is going to take a really big hit, because a lot of those people that want those things aren't going to be able to afford those things.
Right.
Because as essential as this is to me and to other people in our industry, this is still a luxury service at the end of the day.
Right.
As much as, you may spiritually need a nose piercing, you don't physically need a nose piercing. You're not going to starve without one. You're not going to go, you're not going to be living in the street. But if you spend all your money on things you can't afford, you will starve and you will be living in the street. So I think only time will tell what's going to happen with our industry. But I think that the more that we do things like this, and the more we put where piercers and tattoo artists and even, hairstylists, nail technicians, barbers, The more we kind of put like our position out there, the more people can see that like, hey, don't abandon us. You know, if you can afford to get these services, you know, get these services still. Because we as an industry obviously 100% rely on our clientele for survival. You know, I can't pay my bills if you lovely people don't come get shiny stuff put in your body parts.
Exactly. So, last question, and thank you so much again for interviewing with me. What have you been doing to just stay sane and keep your wits about you and be comfortable during this very uncomfortable time?
Yeah, this is a very uncomfortable time right now. I've been doing a lot of cooking. I've been doing some baking, which is something I normally don't have time to do, but really enjoy. My house is cleaner than it's probably been in the last 4 years. So that's something I've been doing. I've also been trying to get exercise, trying to get outside whenever the weather will permit, because I think keeping yourself active and physically healthy is such an important thing right now. As someone who already deals with anxiety and depression, trying to not let that mindset win, and just keeping myself happy, motivated. You know, I'm really thankful that you wanted to interview me for this, because this is something that, you know, gets me pumped up, gets me excited, gets me thinking about body piercing. And it's something, you know, that gives me something to look forward to. Instead of just, you know, watching Netflix or cleaning my house for the 17th time today. Which I very much so enjoy, but, you know, you gotta break it up.
Right, exactly. It's important to keep yourself mentally and physically active, especially now. Those are all really good things. I should cook and clean more. I've been too busy like knitting, and I have a pole in my house, so I've been doing that and just laying around a lot.
I think as long as, you know, you're keeping yourself busy, that's the important part, because I think when you let yourself give in to that, okay, well, I have nothing to do realistically because I can't work, like, you get bogged down and you get depressed, and then once you get into that mindset, it's so much harder to get yourself out than if you can keep yourself above it. You know, which if you have depression and stuff, it's an ongoing battle, but you know, just trying your hardest to not let yourself get to that point is just really important right now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much, Katie, for taking the time to talk to me right now out of your schedule. I really appreciate it. And to everyone listening, you can find Katie in Cleveland, Ohio at her shop. Do you want to drop some of your social media or where people can find your work?
Yeah, I'd love to. So you can find me on Facebook or Instagram at Piercings by Kate. I had an artist do a little piece of artwork for me, so it's a cute little drawing of me, half cartoon, half real me. So you can find me through that, but I'm at Piercings by Kate on Facebook and Instagram, and my shop is Piercing Perfections, and you can find us online anywhere at piercing.perfections.
Perfect. All right, everyone. That was another episode of the I Am Avanti podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And if you have any jewelry needs, we are online at avantibodyjewelry.com. Feel free to click around. And if you use the code ENDY, you get 15% off your purchases. Thank you so much for listening. And I will you'll listen to me next time. I always say I'll see you next time, but this is a podcast. So, all right, later.
Thank you, Endy.
No problem. Bye.